Well, joining us now is Dr. Christopher Chinedum, an advisory board member of the Global Child Protection Area of Responsibility. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So just tell us quickly, what do you do as the advisory board?
Yeah, we provide advisory to the Global Child Protection Area of Responsibility to come up with context-specific strategies that has to do with protection of children globally.
Great.
I represent Nigeria in the global CPO.
Fantastic. I want us to establish that so that we establish that you have the authority to speak about children, because unfortunately and sadly, the victims from this tragedy are children, as we're told.
Sure.
This was supposed to be a good intention, a charity event, but many argue that good intentions are not enough. They should have been backed up by plans and resources to ensure safety. When the story came to you, what was your reaction? Yes,
first it was a sad incident, and secondly, it's although it was done for some good intent, but like you mentioned, it's not enough. For you to have that kind of event, you need to ensure that the proper safeguarding protocols are put in place to ensure that children are not harmed. In humanitarianism, there's the principle we call the do no harm principle. That if you have to implement anything, you should first ensure that it will not cause harm. And when you're dealing with children, it's more stringent, because I understand that that event was organized by an organization. So that organization gathering children should have a child safeguarding policy in place, and also ensure they implemented that intervention in line with their policy.
This is unfortunately too familiar. It's not the first time where we are seeing similar tragedies as recruitment drives at the immigration recruitment in 2014. We've seen customs selling subsidized rice where people are dying. We have seen palliatives shared to students in Nasarawa State University where students died. Is it that we do not learn from past incidents? Why do you think this keeps recurring?
It's a general thing in Nigeria, sorry to say, that we don't learn from past incidences. And also because we have very weak accountability systems in the country. Let's say this incident, for example, in Oyo State. The government agency responsible for oversight of that event, it's the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Inclusion. So they should have been able to give clearance for that intervention to happen. And prior to the clearance, they also needed to know that they had put every mechanism in place to ensure that the children are safe within the environment. Because first, the environment has to be a safe space. And when you're doing distribution too, given the present realities in the country, it has to be properly planned. You have to ensure the target beneficiaries are properly profiled, they have their tallies, and only those with tallies have access to the environment. All right, and the environment where this distribution are made, you ensure they are grouped into different clusters, age-appropriate clusters. Because if you have, let's say 6 to 10, for example, you have them in one cluster, 11 to 15, and also the higher adolescents, so that in the event of Stampede, you wouldn't have this kind of casualty you have. So proper planning and oversight is the major cause, and also the fact that the government systems responsible for oversight and accountability may not have done their job well.
In other words, I hear you say the government is a part of this. The government cannot absolve themselves from this, because we've seen the Oyo State government really strong actions, investigations are ongoing, some arrests have been made, but it does look like the government is excluding itself from what has happened this time around, because it's an NGO that also had a broadcast radio station, publicize this event. Can the government really excuse themselves from incidents such as this?
No, and the government has the responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of all its citizens, including the children. And that is why they have different protocols. Nigeria is a signatory to the Convention on the Right of the Child. In 2003 also, we came up with our own Child Right Act. All right. So, and this Child Right Act and the Convention on the Right of the Child has several provisions. The Convention on the Right of the Child has about 54 articles, and the Child Right Act has over 270 sections. All right. So they have a duty to ensure anybody organizing events that has to do with the gathering of children receives clearance from the oversight ministry. They would have to see their plan. They'll have to see the measures they've put in place. They'll have to ensure they have the child safeguarding policies in place and also the relevant protocols, then give clearance. Sometimes it's requested that they do a dry run to also be sure that when the activities happen, you understand, we don't have casualties.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I mean, we are entering the festive season. Numerous events are going to hold. What are the absolute must, non-negotiable, that events, parties must have, gatherings must have for children and, everyone in general? And as parents, what should you be looking out for when you're taking your child or your children out this period? Safety measures, what should we look out for?
Yeah, you need to ensure that the organization organizing this event have put all the relevant safety protocols in place. All right, you look at the number of persons they are inviting, the personnel they have to manage the number of persons. And normally, if you're inviting children, the children must go with their caregivers. All right, and it's the duty of their caregivers to also ensure that they are protected within the environment. And also, you also look at the medical tools that are around, the ambulance, first aids, and also the nurses and the nurses you have there in case there is an emergency. So if you do all those and you see that they all tick the boxes, then you can allow your children attend the event. And also the government should also ensure that the line ministries in Nigeria, it's the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development that is responsible for the implementation of the Child Rights Act and also upholding the Convention on the Right of the Child in Nigeria. So they ensure that the boxes are ticked and also give clearance to all these organizations organizing these events.
Thank you so much. Very well said. Dr. Christopher Chinedum? Chinedum, thank you so much. Advisory Board Member, Global Child Protection Area of Responsibility. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.